Hey, welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. It's good to see you again. Before I get into today's story about my life collapsing after I was medically discharged from the military, I want you to go ahead and like and subscribe and follow along. I'd really appreciate it, and it helps with channel growth. So we're going to go back in time to 2015. I was at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. I was in the National Guard. I was a staff sergeant, and we were doing summer camp, and we were doing live fire. So as we're training, we're doing the crawl, walk, run phase. You got your squad, you got your battle drill 1 alpha, and we're working up to using live rounds. So this means that our commanders, our platoon sergeants, lieutenants, and everything, they want us to know this drill like backwards and forwards, because it's a very dangerous thing to have a bunch of people online running around slinging bullets downrange that are live. So for 2 weeks, we've been working on these drills. We've been doing squad training, just hammer it in over and over and over. And during this time, I'm feeling this like weird sensation on the bottom of my feet, like I'm walking on gravel. And it's slowly moving up my legs, and my legs are going numb. And there was this other squad leader. One day I talked to him. I was like, dude, I got to keep this a secret, but I can't feel my legs. And I don't know, it's not getting better. And the reason I kept it a secret is because in the military, I learned to hide my energies. I learned to hide my injuries for the fact that I loved training and I loved deploying. And when you're hurt and you're on the sidelines, you don't get put in the game. So I hid it. So near the end of the 2 weeks, there's one day where I'm getting up trying to shave, and I couldn't fake the funk anymore. My legs were wobbling, like things weren't working. Like I was leaning against, what is it called in the bathroom, where you're standing there, there's all these sinks. And as I remember it now, it's a little bit of a difficult memory because I'm leaning against the sink trying to shave because my legs are barely working. And I can't feel my core, and something's horribly wrong with my body. But I get shaved. I get my uniform on, and I walk out of the barracks, and my legs are wobbling. I can barely stand, and my platoon sergeant tells me to go to sick call. And I was like, are you sure? And I was a staff sergeant. I'd done multiple tours. I'd worked at a shooting school for many years. Like, I'm ready to take my guys, go live fire, because we've been training for it. And he told me no, I had to go to sick call. And I had this one tear come down because it was so painful not to be able to train, because I was seen as not capable. By the end of the day, I get wheeled into a hospital. Over the next few months, they didn't know what was going on with me. First, it was Guillain-Barré. Then they changed the diagnosis to transverse myelitis. And once they did that, they were able to treat it better. And I had to go to rehab to learn to walk again. This was like a long 3 to 4 or 5 month process. Just miserable. Get back home, and thankfully they put me on active duty while I'm going through rehab still at home, like OT and PT. But during this time, they let me know, it's like, we're going to discharge you. So they put me in a med hold company, but thankfully I'm able to stay at home. And they would call me on the phone, go through the questions, and med boarding me over the phone. And that took a few months. And then one day, then I knew I was coming. I got a letter in the mail, or an envelope, and it was my medical discharge. It didn't say medical discharge, but it was my honorable discharge. And at first, I was so excited. This felt awesome. It was super cool. I'm retired. But I was no longer part of it. I had lost a huge part of my life that was with me for over a decade. I'd given my youth to it. I'd given my body. I'd sacrificed myself. They were some wonderful years, full of straight up adventure. Very cool. But here I was now with no guidance. Because even during all those years, I dealt with PTSD before that, alcoholism, just really rough times. I still had the uniform and I still had guidance. I still had direction on where I was going. But now I didn't. I was, in a sense, lost. And the way I view it now is part of my identity was being a soldier, and that was a pillar of my identity that was taken away abruptly. It was painful. I did not have the slightest clue of what I wanted to do next. My motivation was absolutely gone. Even though I had a wife and 3 kids, like these 3 kids were like toddler age. And I'd been so broken after this disease. And then I was also diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was just beat down after that battle and still in it. I was like, I don't want to work. Like I'm still getting through this because some days were bad, some days were good. So I became a stay-at-home dad. And that gave me a sense of direction. That was really great. It gave me purpose to get up in the morning. I am serving my family. And it took me a while to get into that role because it's on the job training. You don't have a manual saying, you do this, do that, and do that. Where in the military, it's like, oh, hey, you got in this job, you went to this unit, this is what we expect of you. Here's the training coming up this year. Here's the standards you need to meet. You want to get promoted? Do this. You get promoted. Civilian side, it's all on you. It's like the potentials and possibilities are so open. I got locked into no decision. I was like, there's so much of it, I didn't even know where to start. And I'd been so broken. I was like, no, not going to do anything. So I didn't even engage. I just stayed in the nest and I nested, taking care of the family. And that was great. But everything ends eventually, that I learned. And I didn't have any long-term goals. I didn't have any path, I would say. Because in the military, I was looking at that 20-year mark, and that was my goal. I was looking at the next bit of training, or the next event we needed to go to, or something I needed to teach. I had these things that would be put in front of me. So it was like I was going along this road, and then it was gone. I was out in the open, in the wild, just put out to pasture. Like, you're broken, we're done with you. So I had to figure out what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. That took another 4 or 5 years to even get to the point of realizing that I need to choose who I'm going to be. I need to create visions for my life, and I need to take action. This is not a playbook that was given to me. I had to figure it out on my own. And the biggest factor in all of this was deciding I get to be who I want to be. And then creating that plan. Like, what does that look like? What does me in the civilian world look like? I see all these other people, and from the military, I was doing well for the fact that you dress a certain way, you act a certain way, you fit into this mold. The more you fit into the mold and exemplify this role, the better you will do. Civilian world is like, there is no specific mold. I get to choose it and make it on my own. That's scary. That's very scary, from being a cog to being the person that makes the cogs, essentially. It's like being in a pinball machine and you're the pinball. It's like get knocked around and then you become the pinball machine. And then you got to create the little flappers to send the pinball where you want it to go, which is the direction of your life. And that took many years to get through, to get unlost, basically. But first, you have to be so lost, you have to desire to find yourself. When you find yourself, create a vision. And when you create a vision, you can get an azimuth and just start heading in that direction. And then you just got to put one foot in front of another foot. And for me, that's led me to where I'm at now. I'm still putting one foot in front of another foot, because I know what my goals are. I know who I am and who I'm going to be. And sometimes we get in the darkness where it's like, what's the next step? Sometimes you just got to take that step. And without knowing who you are and without that vision, it's very easy to go in directions that'll take you away from that. But when you start seeking yourself, things change tremendously. Things start lighting up and you start getting a little more direction. And that's the end of this video today. Roadhouse.